All right, last bit of step 4. We're gonna finally glue the back on. Before I glue the back on, I take a picture. So I just kind of offset the back here. This is my method. And so I'm gonna bring up iShop, which is already on because I was doing stuff earlier. So I choose camera. I focus in. Take a photo, say use photo. Go over to my config sheet here. Scan the serial number. Scan step number 4 and hit upload. And that is now uploaded. And the happy owner of 1527 is sitting there refreshing their screen, of course. Okay, so I have calls for the top and the back. So this is dished. This is the same radius that we've been using all for bracing and for sanding for the back. Here's my call for the top. I get that all lined up. Bring it over here to this bench that has a slot here so I can see the top, the center lines for the top and the back. Grab my glue and my rag and the back. So now we are going to just squeeze a bead of glue all the way around. Spread that evenly.
So inevitably there are some areas where we cannot clean up all of the squeeze out in the ukulele. So one of the reasons that we glue the back on first is that when you look inside your sound hole, you see the back. And you can tell there's going to be some squeeze out here, maybe just a little bit. We're getting it right up to the edge of the kerfing. But that way, when this step is complete, Shar can clean out any squeeze out that's occurred around that edge of the kerfing and squeezes onto the back. Because when we glue the top on, we're not going to be able to get to it.
Okay, plenty of glue, not too much.
Remember, she already blew out that kerfing, so it was ready for the glue. Also notice in every step, she's got all of her clamps, glue, rag, all that, chisels ready. So it's all prepared. It makes it a little bit more efficient. And she's also dry fit every time. Before glue is applied, we've done a dry fit. We've talked about how when you put glue on something, it becomes a skating rink. It really is a lubricant until it's dried. So she's checking very carefully. Remember that little bit of the center line from the back that she transferred to the edge of the back? That's what she's looking at there and lining it right up with the center line on the outside of the sides, which is right at the neck block.
Does want to move around.
These are cam clamps. They're instrument clamps. They're expensive. They're available at Lutherie supply stores. There's nothing else I know of that'll do this job. So she's got the center line where she wants it on one end. Now she's checking out the other end, the end block.
Looks good. I also can see underneath on this joint that I've got great squeeze out all the way around.
Now she goes back and checks because often it will skate a little bit. As you clamp one end down, the other end may move. It didn't in this case. You can see here she's going to go to the waist next. She's not going to go immediately right next to the clamps that are already in place.
And I check. I've got great.
I'm going to go underneath so you can see it. See that squeeze out? Look at how perfect it is. I'm going to zoom in for you. Right, that's what you want to see. That means that it was sanded perfectly. You might think, well, is that really important? You're gluing to the kerfing. You're going to put binding on. Well, we think it is important to get a good glue joint, but I'll tell you, when you do an instrument that doesn't have binding, our tradition model, then it's got to be perfect. Otherwise, you see a gap in the final instrument. You can see there's a lot of these clamps. You think, well, is that really necessary? Yes, even clamping pressure is essential.
I always clamp in the exact same order. Not that it would make a huge difference, but
I think it matters
I just
because the
always
reason we
clamp
do
in
things in the
order.
same order is that if something ever goes wrong, we need to look at the process and say, what has changed? And we need to make sure that we have as few variables as possible.
all right, this is going to its spot in the hatchery, and it will wait for step 5 tomorrow.
Can you take the camera and film
I
me
can
doing the last little bit of this?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
So part of my job every day is to upload the nursery and the hatchery pictures. So I'm going into my version of iShop. Well, it's the same camera. I'm going to take just that side-on picture. And then up here is the QR code for hatch, which is what we named that picture. All right, use photo. Hatch, upload. So now, until I do another one, that's going to be our hatchery picture. All right, thanks, and Shar will be with you next week for step number 5, gluing the top on. Bye-bye.